So welcome to the Prusa Slicer. If you haven't signed up or haven't downloaded it yet, download it. And when you first come in, you'll get a little welcome screen. We'll hit next. And then it'll ask you to log in, and you can create an account. It is free to create an account. Or you can go ahead and use a Google account or Apple or Facebook account and sign in that way. All right, once you get yourself logged in, the configuration wizard will take you through some configuration sources. So online sources, please select online sources you want to update profiles from. Really, we're just going to keep it with the Prusa stuff. I think that'll be fine. Some FFF printers will be fine. I don't think we need other SLA vendors, and I'm just going to click next. And again, if you've already signed in or you're in the makerspace, this will all be already done for you, so you don't have to worry about anything else. Computer running a little bit slow. There we go. All right, so then it's asking for the printers, the Prusa printers that we're going to be using with the slicer. And so we're going to look at the MK4 family, and we're going to look at the minis. And I believe we also have the XL multi-tool. So we're going to take a look at those and just kind of load those into our system here. So the MK4S, we do not have the MK4 input shaper. Okay, so this is the one that we want. And I believe we have the default 0.4 millimeter nozzle. So we're going to check that. And we can always come back in here and add some of the other options as well. Then we're going to skip down to the Mini, and we have the original Mini and Mini Plus input shaper. So same thing, default nozzle, which is 0.4 millimeters. And we're going to skip down to the XL multi-tool, and we're going to use the 5T input shaper, and again 0.4 nozzle. Unless anything else changes, then we can swap those, switch the nozzle options, and add those in. But those are the three printers that we have in the makerspace. So I'm going to click next. We don't have any of the SLA technology printers, so I'm just going to skip past that by hitting next. And any other vendors that we may have to support the Prusa Slicer. So I'm just going to scroll through here. I think this is basically the other printer companies that the Prusa Slicer will work with. So if you have a Utilimaker, 3D printer, or any one of these other ones, then you can go ahead and check those. But I'm going to skip that. Say next. Custom printer setup. We don't have a custom printer setup, so again, we're going to skip. And filaments. So the printer. So for all of the Prusa printers, the type. So the type of filament. There are a lot of different types of filament options, different types of plastics, if you will. Not all entirely plastics, but mostly plastics. For the most part, we have three types. We have PLA. We have some PETG. I don't think we have ABS, but this could be another option. And then I'm not seeing the... All right, I'm not seeing some of the other types that we might use, but pretty much we have PLA and PETG in the lab. So for PLA, for the most part, that's what we're going to be looking for. Do we want to include all the vendors? I believe that we have Printed Solid, and that is the vendor that we have in the makerspace, and we're going to say that we're going to set it to the Jesse PLA, which is the brand name of the filament. This is the spool of plastic filament. So is the Jesse PLA made by Printed Solid, and that is the type. So we're going to say next. Automatic updates, that's fine. Next. Downloads from URL. Yeah, we can say yes. Reload from disk. I'm just going to cancel that or not put anything in. And file association. So associate 3MF files to Prusa Slicer. Associate STL files to Prusa Slicer. This is just, you're going to see the logo if you have an STL file or a 3MF file. I'm going to cancel or not even bother checking these because 3MF files I use in other programs. So I don't want to associate them with this program here. STL files, same thing. I use a variety of 3D software, 3D printing software, so I'm just going to keep it as the default. Next. Simple mode is fine. The size of the object can be specified in inches. Primarily, this is done in metric, but if you're used to seeing inches, you can check that on, and you can switch the format. Click on Finish, and this will install the various profiles that we just talked about. Let that do its job. Okay, so this is our current window, and first thing we're going to do is you'll notice that up top it has these tabs. So the various tabs is the plater, which is basically the plate. The print settings, the type of filaments that you're using, the printers, printables. That's a shortcut to the website where you can download instead of creating your own designs. You can download from printables, and then Prusa Connect. If you have internet capabilities between your phone or your computer and the printer, you can print directly from your phone. You can have a camera connected, and you can have it watch. You can have all these things connected from your computer to like a live, to a live printer view, if you will. So if you're not ready to start a print, you can come home, connect through the Prusa Connect, and start your print from your phone away from campus. But we don't have that connected as of right now. So, all right, first thing we're going to do. We're going to import or add an STL file. So I'm going to go ahead and go into my downloads folder. There we are. And this is it's a different name, but this is the coin. So I'm going to open up that coin, and it's going to load it in. And you can see using the scroll wheel, we'll zoom in and out. If I press the left mouse button and move my mouse, I can orbit around. And so right now we want to set the plate. This does say MK4, so it looks like it's set to our MK4. So these are our settings. The printer we're using is the MK4 input shaper with our nozzle type. If it's something else, then we can go ahead and use the drop down and switch. And these are the preloads that we chose beforehand. The filament that we're using. So we're using the Jesse PLA, so we just want to go ahead and click on Jesse PLA. It does have an orange, orange color to it, so we can change this if depending on if you're using different types of filaments. And then the print speed setting, you can basically dictate whether or not you want higher resolution, lower resolution, slow speed, fast speed. So these are some of the things that you can change. So we're just going to keep it at the 0.20 millimeter speed. Supports. You should, if you don't know too much about 3D printing, you probably want to go ahead and always put supports and supports everywhere, and it will generate supports if it's necessary. The infill is how much internal material, so it doesn't actually print solid, but it typically prints with some sort of honeycomb shape or a grid shape on the inside to make printing faster. So obviously if you go 100%, it's going to be a solid model. Typically we go anywhere between 20 to 30% depending on what it is that we are creating. So I'll leave that at 20% infill. The brim we don't have to worry about too much right now. And just a couple of options here. We do have these little shortcut menus. that allows you to move your product, but I can just left click on my coin and I can just move it that way. I can scale it if I need to scale it. I can rotate it. So if it needs to be rotated, I can rotate it. And place on face. So this is an important little button depending on how you want to organize your plate. So for instance, it'll recognize flat places or places that it can be placed. And if I needed to stand it up for whatever reason, I can stand it up and I can print it this way. Now, if I did print it this way, you have problems here underneath. So probably supports would be a good idea so that the coin doesn't have these overhangs and it could print properly. But I'm just going to go ahead, select my coin, and while I have it selected, I'm going to go ahead, place on face, and select the back, and then we're good. Okay, so you do have other options up here. You can add additional models. You can delete the current model. You could arrange. So if you have several models on your build plate, you can hit arrange and it'll automatically arrange for you. That's really all you need on this window, on this part here. I'm going to try to move this out of the way a bit. There we are. Other print settings, if you want to get down into nitty gritty, it's a little bit of a scary and intimidating window. There's a lot of information, but you can really change the layer height, the vertical shell, the horizontal shells. There's a lot of other types of information in here. The infill. Again, we set up the 20% grid pattern. The strongest pattern by far is the gyroid pattern. So if you want something that is very strong, the gyroid pattern is the way to go. Otherwise, you can pick any one of these. Some of them are more creative. Others are more structural. But for right now, triangles, honeycomb, those are probably the standard. So I'm just going to go ahead and stick with triangles. Do we want specific, patterns on the top or the bottom? Again, you can play with those. Skirts and brims. There's also rafts. This will put an extra print around your, I'm going to go back to the plater. This will put an extra print around your item and it'll skirt it essentially. That allows the nozzle to go ahead and print a layer and get used to printing before it actually prints the object itself. So again, something to consider there. Support material, then obviously generate support material. Yes, we want that checked on just in case there's something that we might miss, but you don't have to, right? Filaments, again, we already have filaments set up, but we can fine tune the temperature of the nozzle, cooling, keeping the fan always on or not, filament overrides, a lot of different settings in here to really customize, general settings, any extruder details, dependencies, and so on. So for the coin, the only thing you really need to worry about, Jesse PLA, MK4 input shaper, put supports everywhere, infill at 20%, and then just make sure that it's lying down. You shouldn't have to worry about anything else that's up here. All right, then we're going to slice. So we're going to go down to the bottom right, click Slice Now. Okay, and then this is our sliced coin. So we've got a window, and we've got a couple different colors representing the time and the percentage and the usage of the filament. So basically, anything that is yellow is a perimeter print. Orange is the external perimeter print. The red or the dark red is an internal fill print. So it kind of separates everything into the type of print that it is. It's also going to show you that it's going to take 2 minutes to do the first layer, and the total coin will be about 13 minutes long. okay, from start to finish. And then on the right-hand side, we have a layer meter, basically. And if I go ahead and click on the top, this is after 13 minutes, so I can drag this slider down and it's going to show all the different layers, layer 16, layer 15, and you can start to see the triangle pattern on the inside there. Layer 13, layer 12. So this is how the coin is being built layer by layer. If I wanted to, I can also move the bottom and I can really dissect a certain layer and see how that layer is being utilized from either side. So this is the layers option. On the bottom, we also have the toolpath, so we can see exactly the toolpath that is being created by the Prusa Slicer. And you'll notice on the left-hand side here, this is the G code. These are the sets of instructions that is being given to the 3D printer to create this print. So you can see exactly what order it is. You can go in here and you can change the code if you know what you're doing. And you can basically force the code to, you can order it to stop in a particular spot and pause. And, you know, maybe you can insert, I know people inserted magnets inside of their prints and then they will continue. So there's a lot of other things that you can do creatively. So this is building the print in 3D, and that's the finished spot. So if you don't like it, you can click back down here and you can try flipping it around, change some settings. If you don't mind, then you can go back into the sliced environment, and essentially we're just going to say export G code, and it'll tell you you're going to use about 5.5 grams of filament. You know, how many square inches of filament, and the rough cost, about 11 cents to make this coin. And of course, how much time. So we're going to export the G code. And I'm just going to put it into my downloads. So I'm going to say, I'm going to call this the coin. HVCC coin. And it's just giving the information, the MK4.4 nozzle, 2 millimeter PLA, 13 minutes. It just gives you a rough, that's how it's naming it. And you've got your G code here. File types. Hit save. It's just going to ensure that you're running the latest firmware. So click OK. And it'll give you a little export finished. Open the folder. And this is what you're going to send to your USB stick. And that USB stick you're going to throw onto the printer, onto the 3D printer itself, and start your print. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me. I'll be happy to answer your questions. All right. Thank you very much.